This is QiQ, the question in question. Brought to you by TherapyBites Art Lab. Here to take a bite out of modern-day pseudo-psychological psycho-malarkey. Now entering the Art Lab studio, today's T-Ballers, a collection of fellow strugglers, confronting personal challenges, navigating precarious relationships, and tackling trauma. Humans like each of us, juggling difficult human emotions, each here with unique life experiences, lived stories, and questions we'll bite into that just might help you too. And now, entering the Art Lab studio for the 9,880th time is the host of TherapyBites QiQ, Doc Heath.
Oh, and I was off mic, wasn't I? Thank you guys for joining us this evening. And yes, I know that you're wanting to get back to the Country Music Awards. Yes, those are streaming live through Amazon. And no, I don't have a affiliate agreement with them. But I thank you guys for spending time with me this evening. And we're going to dig into some psychologically nutritious information just for you guys. I'm looking at my mic, making sure everything's okay. But let's go to the board. You know how the game is played, and we have many categories here. The first category is Couch Crumbs questions, which we get from our newsletter. All you have to do, actually Couch Crumbs quotes, is sign up for the newsletter at the number coming up later in the show. I'll go and give it to you. 870-686-4196. So we have creature feature questions about psychological concepts called cognitive distortions. SMS is social media smackdown. Some of you know that I like to get on the social media platforms and stir up some debate. It's all in good fun. Some people take it too seriously, but and there's still no sound. Wow, thank you, Jennifer. Is there sound now? Okay, fantastic. And I like to stir up some controversy, and it's all in good fun. I'm trying to hold my profession to the task to make sure that we're not sharing out just woo-woo nonsense information. And social media is so full of that out there, and we like to take a bite out of that, hence Therapy Bites. Couch Crumbs, again, that's our newsletter. We have quotes from there. That's CCQ, Couch Crumbs Quotes. And then Neuro is everything neuroscience. We also call that Psych Secrets. And our first question for the evening comes from Art Lab Couch Crumbs Quotes. And the answer is, this quote is attributed to the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, emphasizing the importance of self-reflection and introspection for a meaningful existence. And we have a minute on the clock. We only take about 60 seconds for these. Most people know who Socrates is. And in my field, the most famous philosopher, what we derive a lot of our techniques from would be the sayings and quotes of Epictetus. My son and I used to read his works every summer, and I miss that. He's off in college now in med school, but med school has its own group of amazing quotes. And let's see, the mic sounds distorted. Let me turn that down a bit. You're right, it does, doesn't it? You can tell me. And we're back. Let's see how that sounds. settings. I'm hoping we're back good to go, but it does sound odd and more distorted than normal. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Any improvements there? Let's give that a shot. Okay, those of you on the live feed here, you can tell me how that's coming through. Thank you guys for joining in and taking a look. And we are getting messages that we're a bit distorted tonight in the mic sounds, but we're going to do our best here. And the question for that answer is, who said the unexamined life is not worth living? And of course, I just gave you the answer. And the answer to that was, this quote is attributed to the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates. And let's see. Oh, Jennifer says, hey, thank you very much, Jennifer. Appreciate you sticking with us there. And I have somebody that's really going crazy sending me text messages, so I'm going to have to stop that. I had that on airplane mode, I thought. But, okay, let's go back to the board and see what we have here for our next item. And it is coming from for 600 Psy coins. And what can you do with Psy coins? You can buy merchandise at our TherapyBites store, and you can save those up. And also, if you win those, we'll put that in the chat so that will help you keep up with those. The section now is creature feature for 600 Psy coins. This cognitive distortion, the answer is, this cognitive distortion involves focusing on a single negative detail or aspect of a situation, ignoring the other positive or neutral elements, and this is akin to seeing the world through a pair of darkly tinted glasses. And we have 60 seconds on the clock and see what we can do with that, and we'll be right back after this.
You are a fellow human struggling with difficult emotions, a fracturing relationship, parenting problem, mental health difficulty, have a psychotherapy from hell story to tell, or a challenging life experience question, and would like to share your story by stepping up to bat as a T-baller. Either register by texting QiQ to 1-870-686-4196 and join our TherapyBites community, or send a postcard with your name, address, phone number, email address, and age to the address on the screen. TherapyBites QiQ, P.O. Box 1391, Jonesboro, Arkansas 72403 1391.
Okay, thank you guys for sticking with us. I think we have our technological difficulties straightened out now. And the once again, the answer was for 600 Psy coins, this cognitive distortion involves focusing on a single negative detail or aspect of a situation, ignoring the other positive or neutral elements, and it's akin to, seeing the world through a pair of darkly tinted glasses, which these are not, or I couldn't read. These are my readers, though, and I like to wear these so I can read the words off this page. The question is, what is the underthinking ant? What is the underthinking ant? Let's go back to the board. And this item comes from Social Media Smackdown. Don't you love it? I love to get on there and have debates. And Jennifer said, what's rose-colored glasses? That is a good guess, but it's actually the underthinking ant. We've created a whole zoo of creatures to help us explain some of these things. And the underthinking ant, most people say overthinking. I've never found someone does that. It's usually, or always actually, it's underthinking that is ignoring important aspects of the situation. Okay, for 400 Psy coins from Social Media Smackdown, the answer is, this cognitive distortion is a type of overgeneralization where a person applies a simplistic term to describe complex human behavior or identity, and here's the key to this: reducing a person to a single, often negative characteristic. And we have 60 seconds on the clock while I get over here and introduce you guys to where we are this evening. This is the Art Lab Library, and I am a bookaholic. And behind me is, gosh, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Let me scan over. I'll show you. Maybe that's only about 15% of my books. I have lots of books in closets. I guess I just hoard books. And my dream is having a large library. I can display them all. And you might ask, do you use those? Well, actually I do. Have I read them all? No, I've not. I once had a neuropsychology professor say that you need to have more books than you could ever read, and I believe there's a famous author that said that. Let's get back to the topic at hand, social media smackdown, and you see this all over social media, and this is a cognitive distortion that is a type of overgeneralization where one applies a simplistic term to describe complex human behavior or identity, reducing a person to a single, often negative characteristic. And you guys will see this. And William is saying it's avoidance. Well, in a way, it's avoidance. That's not actually the question we're after, but that's awfully close. You'll see this when people use words such as gaslighter, manipulator, controller, or toxic. And gosh, Jennifer is so close. The question is, what is labeling? The question is, what is labeling? And but I tell you what, that is so close. What do you think? I mean, I think that we should just give it to her. Jen wins, what was that? 400 Psy coins. Whoops. Can I spell? I don't know. We'll see. I can, but my fingers cannot. And that's just a way of keeping track there. And you can reach out to us and give us your totals. We can look it back up there, and we want you guys to get the prizes you're due from the TherapyBites store. Let's go back to the board, and we have on the board this evening. It is coming from fresh from the therapy couch, and these are real life situations. Everything we talk about is from a real life situation. And for 600 Psy coins, this is a psychological concept that refers to the belief that outside forces or individuals have significant influence over one's life, circumstances, and this can potentially lead, usually it does, to thoughts of being helpless, reduced self-efficacy, thinking you can't do it, you don't measure up, and thinking that you can be manipulated. And we will be right back with that question right after this.
If you plan on being in the local area of your podcast player app and would like complimentary tickets to the TherapyBites QiQ Art Lab studio audience, please search TherapyBites on your device and just smash that subscribe button. Your complimentary ticket grants you access to alerts so you'll never miss a show.
And the question is, what is external locus of control? What is external locus of control? And that takes us right back to the board. And this item comes from the Couch Crumbs newsletter, and that will be coming out this Friday. If you guys would like to get a free copy of that and sign up for it, all you have to do is text your email address to 1-870-686-4196. That's 1-870-686-4196. And the answer is, this newsletter column explores the downside of how using emotions as evidence clouds judgment and leads to skewed perceptions, resulting in less than effective decision making. And there is 60 seconds on the board as we're back out of cyberspace of the QiQ stage, back in the Art Lab library. And you see those guys up on the shelf there. My dear mother-in-law used to call those Doc Heath's naked people. When sculptors started sculpting things, for some reason they just didn't want to put clothing on them. And I apologize if that embarrasses anybody, but it is the human body, and there's a story behind them. One of those stories is that they're not all completely carved. some are still stuck in stone. The meaning being we're all gradually sculpting ourselves in life. And we are at the end of that time period. And William says, what is breadcrumbing? Yeah, breadcrumbing is another social media psychomalarkey, very sabotaging thought that someone is leading you on, that we also call that, that would be mind reading. How would you know unless they say they're doing that? But the correct question here is, for that newsletter section, is what is the feelings frenzy column? Sarah, my dear colleague, takes apart when people use emotions as evidence, and emotions are wonderful. I have them all the time. And right now I'm excited to be with you guys. See, there's an emotion, but what is it telling me anything? It's not telling me anything. It's just a flavor of life. And let's go back to the board for one more for the evening, and this comes from the category of neuro, which is also called Psych Secrets. And the answer is, it is for 800 Psych coins, and this is a hard one. You have to pay attention for this. It's a hard one. For 800 Psych coins, this neuroscience concept is encapsulated in the phrase that neurons that fire together wire together. Isn't that catchy? That's one of my favorite phrases in my early career of studying neuropsychology. What fires together wires together. And it emphasizes the idea that simultaneous, I'll get on camera here where you can see both my hands, that simultaneous activation of this circuit, which holds information, and this circuit, eventually they wire together. And you can call that association or associative wiring or programming. But this emphasizes the idea that simultaneous activation of cells leads to pronounced increases in synaptic strength between those cells. In other words, activation of one is more likely to activate the other one. And this is the whole thing while we talk about your thoughts aren't feelings and your feelings aren't thoughts, because if you pair those together long enough, you'll come to believe that every time I have this feeling, it means this thought is accurate. And this is a fundamental to the understanding of how the brain adapts to new information. It's an important process, but you have to master it. And we'll be right back with the proper question there, unless you guys come up with it first.
Premier accommodations for our T-Ball contributors provided electronically by the luxurious Art Lab Studio, overlooking the steaming cesspool of pseudo-psychological social media psychomalarkey, and located in cyberspace on your favorite podcast hosting platform, where we invite you to the most psychomalogically thrilling podcast in town, while you feast on our award-winning Psychologically-Nutritious buffet of TherapyBites cuisine, conscientiously cooked up by your hard-working T-Ball team chefs.
And we are back, and the question is, what is Hebbian theory? What is Hebbian theory? You guys can Google that to learn more about that fabulous neuroscientist that, well, he thought that up. And the reason we really like to talk about that is back to how people confuse what they think with what they feel, because thoughts should require evidence. Feelings do not. You don't need proof that you're sad. You don't need proof that you're anxious. But wiring up your brain to believe that presence of anxiety, for instance, means the absence of safety, well, that's that theory put to work in real life, and you'll see how that works. That you can get really, really good at convincing yourself that when you're anxious, you're at risk, and it's just not so. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you get to catch us next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. If you don't, we always have replays. Go and tell a friend, share it out to somebody that could use some for themselves, psychologically nutritious information. And as always, we really appreciate you guys being here with us each and every time.
Next time on TherapyBites Art Lab QiQ, Doc Keith and T-Ball callers face off against steaming piles of pseudo-psychological psychomalarkey directly from your favorite social media platforms, or perhaps from the psychotherapy couch of a pill-pushing, emotion-demonizing, bobble-headed, woo-woo clinician who fed their kooky Kool-Aid to you. This is Art Potto speaking. Therapy Bites QiQ is a Dr. I'm a Floyd Knot production. Distributed by the Therapy Bites Art Lab Podcast.